Every Wednesday and every Sunday at 9 p.m, GeoGuessr organizes a tournament. I've played possibly 100 of these tournaments. They are grouped in tiers. I am in tier 2 because of my overall ranking in the leaderboard. So my tier has 32 players. Usually I don't go past round 1 or round 2. There are 5 rounds to be able to win a tournament. Today, Wednesday, 9 p.m, I was still at the office for a late night meeting. So I played at the office, but I did not record my voice. So I'm going to do a voiceover over the few rounds that I've managed to play and succeed today. And you'll see by the end of the video how well and how far I went. So without further ado, let's get started with the first round of this Tier 2 a Community World ACW tournament. So here right away, I zoom on the sign. I think I recognize some Spanish. I'm not certain, so I want to see the stop sign. I see it has a white border, so then I'm confused. Is it really Spain? Usually in Spain you don't have a white border, but if I look then on the right hand side, I see these other road signs and they do not have a white border and it says Camino. So clearly I'm thinking this is Spain. It looks quite dark. I'm thinking northwest Spain. It was actually western Spain, not northwest. My opponent is closer. I lose 400 points on that first round. Not a big deal. There are 7 rounds, no multipliers in this specific tournament. First thing I'm checking here is whether it's octagonal as a utility pole. It's not. It's likely not Mexico. I look around and I spot the yellow license plate on the motorbike on the right hand side. So this is very likely Colombia. It looks typical Colombian mountainous landscape. So I go a bit randomly in Colombia. And here we go. It is indeed Colombia. My opponent has guessed almost in the same spot. Round 3 looks fairly flat. And what I noticed right away is that border, right? The black and white border, which is typical of the Czech Republic, could be Slovakia as well. I think, I can't remember, but in this case, by default, I usually go for Czechia. And it is indeed in the Czech Republic. My opponent is a little bit closer than I am. It doesn't change much. So right now I am behind. 3 rounds have passed. All right, we see typical stone houses. It's written in French, Rue de Varennes. Stone houses, the utility pole, concrete with these ladder-like structure. We're certainly in France, very likely close to Paris with that kind of architecture. Not too certain where, but that's my best guess, just to go in Paris. And it's actually to the east of Paris. So that was a pretty good guess. I'm able to be back in the lead with just about 100 or 200 points above my opponent. 3 rounds left at most. At most, because if someone loses all their points, then it's over. So here, obviously, we have a street view car that everyone's going to recognize if you've played GeoGuessr even a little bit. This is the snorkel car, so we're in Kenya. I'm thinking this could be the suburbs of Nairobi. It doesn't look like it's in the mountains. It doesn't look like it's Mombasa, close to the coast, no palm trees. And that was a pretty good guess. My opponent took a big risk here by going close to Mombasa. So I'm now fairly comfortably in the lead, 1,000 points ahead. Round 6. So I noticed the palm trees. I see the signs on the left-hand side of the road. So I'm thinking this could be Thailand. The cars are driving on the left-hand side. I'm trying to find any script, but I cannot see anything. It's quite flat, so I'm not certain. And usually the road in Thailand is concrete. It's not this kind of asphalt, but it varies. So I'm still looking for some sign, some language, so I can be more comfortable with my guess. And I don't see it. However, so I've got 5 seconds left. My opponent has guessed, so I'm not too certain. And because of the asphalt, I'm just going for Indonesia. I'm completely wrong. It's neither Thailand, where my opponent went, neither Indonesia. It was Sri Lanka, and I don't think I recognize the street view car. I don't think if I had seen it. All right, it's the last round. We're very close. I'm just 300 points ahead. Now you see this red license plate. This is typically Bhutan. I'm trying to figure out the name of the tunnel to try and find on the map afterwards if I can find it accurately, but I struggle. I go to Bhutan. I'm thinking, okay, I need to make a fairly safe guess in the middle of the country, and I should not be losing more than 400 points unless they find the exact spot. So I don't know where to go exactly. Just putting randomly close, not too far away from the capital city, but it's really a random guess at this point. And I turn out to be extremely close, 9.2 kilometers. So this is a victory, not by much, but it is a victory nonetheless. Round 1. Round 2 starts against someone from Poland. Clearly some European vegetation. We have mountains. I think for a second I'm thinking Switzerland at this point, although I don't think it's a low camera footage like you have in Japan and Switzerland. So I'm thinking afterwards this could be maybe Austria. And here we have an Italian name. Santa Caterina di Trento or Treno, I can't remember what's written. So this is very likely northern Italy. And actually, I realized just a second too late, I'm just a few kilometers away from the name I could see, Comune di Schio or Schio, which is actually just very close to where I put my marker. Just complete luck, or lack of luck in this case, because I could have actually been very, very close to the actual spot. Nevertheless, I'm closer than my opponent, so they lose 225 points. Round 2, mountainous. I'm thinking, oh, let this not be Bhutan. It's not the kind of vegetation. I don't see the concrete blocks on the side of the road. So I'm quickly ruling out Bhutan in this case. I'm starting to think mountainous like this kind of vegetation, this fence, this could be perhaps Colombia, Ecuador. I'm not certain. Yep, they seem to be looking as Latinos. I'm not certain, but I checked the sun's location. It's pointing to the north on my compass. So we're likely in the southern hemisphere. And Colombia is not exactly in the southern hemisphere. You have the equator. So I'm not too certain where to go. So I put my marker in between Colombia and Ecuador. And it turns out it is Colombia. And my opponent actually made a terrible mistake by going to Mexico. Possibly the sun was a red herring here. Round 3, very dry. We're driving on the right-hand side. The sun is not helping a lot, so I'm not going to use it too much. The painting on the road is white. Martina, I think in this case, I'm thinking, okay, this must be some Spanish. I don't want to be caught with the time. Sometimes I don't notice that the time is running out. We only have 45 seconds no matter what. No matter what, at the very most. If someone guesses, then the opponent has 15 seconds remaining only. So in this case, I'm thinking, okay, this is actually I should have realized, but this is the street view car you can also see in Argentina. So I put my guess somewhere in Argentina. I'm trying to make it a little bit closer. I should have gone south, indeed, in that dry area next to Mendoza. Kick myself a little bit, but I'm still quite ahead with 2,000 points because of the previous round's terrible guess by my opponent in Mexico. All right, so this one, what am I thinking? We can see some Thai script, so fairly easy here. Thailand, although the scooter is driving on the right-hand side, but then the car is on the left, and you have a flag of Thailand and the royal flag, the royal yellow flag. So very comfortable that this is actually Thailand. I think I saw a few hills. I wasn't too sure, so I went a little bit north of Bangkok. I didn't validate my guess just yet. I wasn't too certain. I didn't think it would be the south anyway. I was trying to look for the name of a city or anything on these ads. And it turns out it was actually very close to Bangkok. Again, my opponent went a little bit too further away. So I'm now comfortably in the lead with 3 rounds remaining. Right away, I'm thinking, is this Mongolia? And no, I can check. We're driving on the right-hand side. It's written in English. Lone Tree, Bar. I'm trying to see if there's the name of the state or the province. I don't know if it's the US or Canada. And now I'm confused because I don't know if this is going to be Alaska or maybe somewhere in the US or maybe next to British Columbia and Alberta. I really struggle with this landscape. I haven't seen it very often. So in this case, I'm hedging a little bit. I'm going next to Alberta and British Columbia, hoping it's either Alaska or northern US. It's actually, where is it? Next to Nebraska. Can't see exactly which state it is. So I was completely wrong. I'm losing a lot of my advantage here. Only 2 rounds remaining. I'm only 800 points ahead. Again, English, yellow line in the middle. This is likely the US. It's quite hilly, not mountainous. I'm thinking this is going to be the eastern part of the US, maybe northeastern part of the United States. I don't think it's Canada. I'm trying to look for a sign. I'm actually confused for a second if this could be Canada with that little... it's not exactly a checkerboard, but this diagonal, yellow and black. So I'm a little bit confused, and that I think explains the reason for my choice to go very close to the border with Canada in New York State or Vermont. It turns out it was Virginia. So again, I lose against my opponent 300 points. I only have 400 points in the lead. It's the final round. If I lose more than 400 points, I lose the tournament. So we can see the yellow and the blue on the side, very likely to be Ukraine. We have written here Odessa and Luhansk. You can see the both Cyrillic and Latin characters. So I'm thinking if you see both Odessa and Luhansk, Odessa is all the way to the south, Luhansk is in the east. So I'm thinking this must be the capital city. It does look like a massive city. So I'm hoping that I am not wrong and it's not another city in Ukraine. I'm thinking there's probably not more than 400 points to be lost. And indeed, it's the capital city. I've made it to round 3, the quarterfinals. And we play right away round 1. We have some French boutique and the street view car that you see typically in Senegal. So in this case, I don't really know where to go. I'm thinking could be close to Dakar, but I really don't have much time to guess. Southern Senegal, no big deal. Round 2. So here I'm thinking right away the Philippines, because of the concrete of the road, the palm trees, the water, and the cars driving on the right. And this confirms it. You have immediately this rickshaw with a flat roof, and this is very distinctive of the Philippines. That flat roof on top of that tuk-tuk or rickshaw that you will most often see in the Philippines, together with a jeepney and close to Manila. And it's actually the northern part or the central part of the Philippines where I just hedged in the middle. I didn't take any risks, which actually paid off with my opponent losing 800 points. Round 3. So here I'm thinking maybe Bulgaria, and actually we have some Greek, which sometimes can look very similar to Cyrillic. So because I thought of Bulgaria and it looks very a kind of vegetation and not very dry, I'm going to northern Greece. It turns out it is indeed northern Greece, very close to Bulgaria. Round 4, we got English, a wide avenue. I'm trying to see if there's any name of a city or a province or a state. Always the same thing. So I hesitate, the US or Canada. I don't recognize the license plate because all the cars seem to have a very distinctive license plate with that little blue strip on the top, and the rest of the license plate being white. And then, I put my guess in Pennsylvania. I'm thinking, oh no, is that the plate from Vermont? But no, Vermont is actually green. Mostly green, the license plate, if I remember correctly. And it turns out it's Michigan. But my opponent did not guess, as you may have noticed, which is a shame because they've just lost all the points that I've gathered on that guess. Here we have the Turkish bollard, which looks very much like the Australian one, but the rest of the landscape is so typically Turkish, and you have Turkish language on that sign. The sun also gives us an indication that it is in the northern hemisphere. I don't really know where in Turkey. It doesn't look like the east that much, but I really don't know. So it's just hedging roughly in the middle. It's actually southeast in Turkey. So I lose a few points, but there's only 2 rounds remaining and I have a huge advantage in terms of points. Looks like Europe in terms of vegetation, fairly flat, a few hills. We have this white paint in the middle. I see these little orange things on the bollards. I'm thinking Czechia or Slovakia, but I don't pay enough attention to the road sign, and I probably have missed something which would have told me that was Slovakia. So I lose just a few points, no big deal. I still have more than 3,000 points ahead of my opponent. Round 7 and final round, and here I recognize immediately the street view car in Nigeria. We have the photo car, which is that police car. So I can't lose more than 4,000 points on that round. I'm just going to play safe in Ibadan. It's actually north of Abuja. My opponent goes much farther away. So it's a victory again for me. I am in the semifinals. Woohoo! Semifinals against an American. Nice little waterfall here. Initially, I'm thinking this is the UK. This is Ireland. I'm not too certain. Try to see what's written on the sign and go back to check it. And I don't recognize the language too much. I'm confused if it's Irish, but then it's English at the top. So I'm thinking, you know what? I'm just going to hedge and put my guess between Northern Ireland and north part of the UK. It's actually Scotland. So I lose already 600 points on the first round. Round 2. So in this case, I recognize possibly some Swedish or Norwegian. It looks more Swedish to me. I think it's a Volvo on the left-hand side. I caught it with my eye, and here we have some in the corner of my eye we have some yellow and blue signs. I'm going for Sweden. I've pressed my guess already, and it was actually the middle part of Sweden, but a bit closer. Doesn't change radically. So here we have some octagonal utility pole, squarish license plate, something in Mexico. trying to see where the sun is. It's indeed pointing towards the south on my compass, so we're likely to be in the northern hemisphere. Now, next thing I'm trying to do is to see if I see any mountains, any kind of vegetation, and I don't see anything, so I'm a bit confused. And I'm thinking, okay, that may be just the middle part of Mexico. I'm going to play safe. I wish I had seen something else, a road sign or the name of a town, but for lack of a better guess, I just go in the middle. Turns out it's on the Pacific coast. I'm not much farther away than my opponent, so I don't lose many points. No big deal. Round 4. So here I'm thinking, okay, this is maybe South Africa, and I should have realized where Maseru is because you see it very often. Okay, I'm thinking this is maybe not South Africa. This is maybe Eswatini. Obviously, if you play GeoGuessr, will know that I'm wrong, but I go to Eswatini thinking I've seen Maseru in Eswatini. It turns out it's not going to be Eswatini. It's going to be in the other landlocked country, which is Lesotho, and I can see Maseru is maybe the capital city if I'm not mistaken. So this is how I got things wrong, and I'm losing a number of points here. Sun pointing towards the north, so I'm probably in the southern hemisphere. Got some yellow lines, so I'm thinking South America. Not too certain where it is. I should have noticed it's actually a little bit dry and not especially tropical. I look again at the sun. It doesn't give me much indication. But I think at this point, just to be safe, I put my marker around Ecuador. I'm not super confident about it. I'm trying to find a sign. I think I've seen this sign. I'm trying to see if it's Colombia. But no, there's no cross at the back. There's only 4 seconds left. So I don't know. I just keep it at Ecuador. And it's actually Bolivia, but my opponent went to Mexico. So actually, this puts me actually back at the same level as them in terms of points. Round 6, and that's an exciting one because you see the red soil on the side. Immediately, I'm thinking Brazil. And Mato Grosso, Tocantins, Mato Grosso do Sul, maybe the northern part. This is where you usually find the red soil in that kind of landscape. These rolling hills, these very straight roads. And I'm praying that this is actually a very good guess. And it is. Actually, my opponent made a massive mistake, went to Nigeria, and lost almost all their points on the penultimate round. Final round, if I don't screw it up, I'm going to win this round. It is Thai on the left-hand side, driving on the left-hand side, on the left side of the road. So it is Thailand. I'm not risking too much. I could just go to Bangkok. It doesn't look tropical. I cannot lose more than 3,000 points on that round in theory. It's actually all the way south of Thailand and they went north. So that's a victory. I go to the finals of this tournament. So here I go. I play the final against someone called Little One from the UK. So driving on the right-hand side, I noticed the tuk-tuk, the rickshaw on the left-hand side. I'm thinking this looks like some South American architecture. It is written in Spanish. I'm going to think it's Ecuador, but I'm not too certain. And then I see La Revolución. I'm thinking, is this maybe Bolivia? So I'm sticking to Ecuador. I have this Ecuadorian vibe with a kind of landscape, and I get very lucky. And I try to zoom in and I actually don't see the name of the town. So I don't know what was that name about. Round 2. All right, we have some German here, and I'm thinking that kind of street name, Dolmarstrasse, doesn't look really Austrian. It's more German-like. And I notice, I think on the right-hand side of the road, there's the Haltestelle, the bus stop, another few signs here. I'm thinking this looks like Germany, but I can't be certain. We have new Street View coverage in Germany, so this is certainly a possibility. I mean, it's written in German everywhere. We have the name of the church, and we have this beautiful red leaves. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go to southern Germany, not too far away from Austria, just in case. Turns out it's actually central Germany, and I'm very surprised. Lose 400 points on this one. I'm at the same level as my opponent in terms of points. Round 3 of 7. All right, so I zoom on this and I recognize Romanian right away. I'm not certain. I want to confirm it. Indeed, I see Romanian here. I see hills, mountains. I go straight dead in the center of Romania where you have some hills. And then I look around. I have more confirmation that it is Romania because of the also the trenches that you see, the sewers. It's actually the northwestern part of Romania, but my opponent had it as well, so I'm only losing 100 points here. Round 4. So now I see on the left-hand side, Izcuchaca, and I see the attire of the women here. It looks so Peruvian, and the area close to Cusco, where I've been 11 years ago. And I'm trying to see if I can find the name of that town. I know I did not visit it because I remember Pisac, Cusco, and the names around this. I'm trying to again find the name. It looks so much like this area around Machu Picchu. I'm trying to see if it's actually further south next to Lake Titicaca. I just can't see it on the map. For a second I have a doubt it could be Bolivia, northern Bolivia, but I can't find it. It's actually not in the Cusco area. I'm closer, much closer than my opponent actually. 300 kilometers away from it, from the spot, but it's actually not in that area that I thought it was. Next round, and I'm thinking, oh wow, this looks like Eastern Europe for a second, but I have a vibe that this could be France, and I'm thinking in the back of my head, it would be really silly not to guess France as a Frenchman. And I see in the top left corner of that sign, Beauvais. And Beauvais is very easy for me to know because it's actually one of the airports that you can take for Ryanair, if I'm not mistaken. So it's very easy for me to know where Beauvais is in a north of Paris. And I'm thinking, oh my, thank God I found this sign because I had a doubt. But then in hindsight, it was just logical with the architecture. My opponent did not see the sign or did not know where Beauvais was. So I get easily 500 points, almost 600 on that round. I'm 2 rounds from winning the final and potentially my first tournament. Let's see what happens because this looks like the US. We have indeed the sun on the southern side of my compass, so we're in the northern hemisphere. I'm trying to look for the name of the town or the province or the state on the bin. I can't see anything. It's too blurry. I'm zooming in. I see Niswa sanitation. I have no idea where this is. I'm starting to get worried. I worry that this is central US, Louisiana. I don't recognize the architecture of the houses. I feel it's too flat. Usually I go northeastern US for this, but in this case I don't want to go too much northeast, so I just plonk it in Pennsylvania, hoping for the best. There's only 3 seconds left, and it's actually Minnesota, and I'm like, what the heck? I lose 700 points. I'm only 300 points ahead of my opponent. It's the final round. If I lose more than 300 points on that round, I lose the tournament. And I see, I should have seen actually the yellow and the blue sign in the top bottom left corner. It is a Swedish flag. We are in Sweden. Sweden is big from the north to the south, so I can't risk making a bad guess here. I don't see anything else here. I just have for a second I'm confused if this is Ukraine. Obviously it's not Ukraine. It has everything about, we don't have the long antenna. It's written in Swedish. We have Swedish again here. So I just put my guess in the middle of Sweden. It doesn't look like it's the north with the type of vegetation, the trees. So I'm just waiting for the final result. And it's actually at the same latitude where I am. And my opponent went to Norway. I have won the tournament for the first time in my life. I have won that tournament. I just can't believe it. I get this little trophy. I'm like wondering what's going on next. And I have this little trophy coming. So thank you for watching. I'm very pleased that after playing maybe 100 times this tournament, I finally make it of winning 5 duels in a row and winning this ACW tournament against my peers. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you another time on my channel. Bye.